What could possibly shake an immortal figure like Robert De Niro? For more than 5 decades, he has stood at the very summit of cinema. Even now, in his 80s, he faces storms that still refuse to pass. To the world, he isn't just an actor, he's the very heartbeat of film itself, a man who gave silence a voice, whose eyes carved themselves into the memory of audiences everywhere. But behind the monument lies a man marked with scars, 2 broken marriages, a son living with autism, a battle with cancer that brought him to the brink, and injuries that once made the entire world pause. His triumphs are undeniable, but so are his shadows. And at 82, the question lingers. Are there sorrows still following this living legend as he writes the final chapter of his life? Before we dive in, hit that like button as a gesture of respect for Robert De Niro, the man who turned his pain into art and, in doing so, became immortal. De Niro's hardest battles were not on the screen of Taxi Driver or Raging Bull, but in the fragile silence of his childhood. Born in Manhattan on August 17, 1943, while the world was still at war, he came into a home filled with color and art. His father, Robert De Niro Sr., was an abstract expressionist whose paintings would one day hang in museums. His mother, Virginia Admiral, was both painter and poet, a woman of fire and duty. At first, their union seemed like a beautiful canvas. But by 1945, before Robert's 3rd birthday, it had unraveled. His father revealed a true society could not yet accept. He was gay. The marriage collapsed. His father moved out, loving but absent, while his mother became both mother and father, working tirelessly as a printer and typist to keep food on the table. Young Robert grew up between Greenwich Village and Little Italy, neighborhoods alive with art but scarred with grit. Pale and thin, he was teased with the cruel nickname Bobby Milk. His grandparents had him quietly baptized in 1945, deepening the fractures between freedom and tradition, art and faith. He had no siblings, only the ache of absence, a father searching for identity, a mother consumed by survival. Years later, he would admit with regret, "I wasn't aware of much of it. I wish we had spoken more." His refuge came in the darkness of movie theaters. There, faces like Greta Garbo's whispered emotions his family never spoke aloud. At 10, his mother arranged acting classes through her work. That year, 1953, he stepped onto a stage as the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz. Beneath that oversized costume stood a boy, still fragile, but finding power in performance. At 17, De Niro didn't march toward fame. He walked away from the ordinary. In 1960, he left school behind. Acting wasn't an ambition, it was survival. "I always felt alone," he would later say. "Acting gave me a way to disappear, and that was a relief." He trained at the Stella Adler Conservatory and the Lee Strasberg Institute. For him, method acting wasn't a technique, it was oxygen. He haunted New York streets, studying truckers, hustlers, even shadowing small-time gangs, not to glorify crime, but to capture truth. In 1963, at 20, he filmed Brian De Palma's The Wedding Party. But the movie sat unreleased for 6 years, finally surfacing in 1969. In between came bit parts, endless rejections, and cheap rooms where phones never rang. "You learn from rejection," he said. "You take it and keep going. That's the job." Everything changed in 1973. He won the role of Bruce Pearson in Bang the Drum Slowly. After 7 grueling auditions, on screen as the dying catcher, he poured every scar of his youth. Critics finally saw what casting directors had missed. That same year, he collided with Martin Scorsese. Together, they unleashed Mean Streets, and De Niro's Johnny Boy blazed across the screen, reckless, unforgettable. The boy once mocked as Bobby Milk was now a force no one could ignore. Fame did not ease into his life. It struck like lightning. In 1974, at 31, he became young Vito Corleone in The Godfather Part II. He studied Sicilian dialect for 4 relentless months, rehearsed every gesture until it became instinct. "If I couldn't believe it, no one else would," he said. His performance stunned the world and earned him an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. He wasn't there to collect it. He was already working. Then came Taxi Driver, 1976. He earned a cab license, drove 12-hour shifts, wore boots until they felt fused to his skin. Alone in a mirror, he conjured that immortal line, "You talking to me?" Years later, he admitted, "You're alone a lot when you drive a cab." That loneliness stayed with me. With Raging Bull, 1980, he nearly destroyed his body. He trained with Jake LaMotta himself, gained more than 60 Laulabats in 4 months, and risked his health for authenticity. The film stopped mid-production just so his body could catch up. The payoff, an Oscar for Best Actor, and permanent damage. Through the 1980s and 1990s came The Untouchables, 1987, Goodfellas, 1990, Casino, 1995. Yet wounds came too. Once Upon a Time in America, 1984, was butchered for U.S. release, shrinking from 4 hours to barely 2, and flopped $30 million budget, about $5 million domestic. It was painful, he admitted. With Cape Fear 1991, he filed his teeth to nubs, tattooed his body, and sank into menace. Sometimes it's not so easy to come back, he confessed. Success left him hollow. By the late 1990s, he turned to comedy. Analyze This, 1999, Meet the Parents, 2000. Audiences laughed. Critics scoffed. He felt both the joy and the sting. The crown of genius had grown unbearably heavy. In 1976, at 33, the same year Taxi Driver defined him, he married actress Diana Abbott. He adopted her daughter Drana, and later that year welcomed Raphael. For a time, he softened into a tender father. Family is everything, he said, but his intensity consumed him. By 1988, at 45, they quietly divorced. That same year, he began a new chapter with Toukie Smith. They avoided the spotlight and in 1995, through surrogacy, welcomed twins Julian Henry and Aaron Kendrick. He was 52, a father again, but by 1996, they parted ways, gracefully, co-parenting with care. In 1997, he married Grace Hightower. Their son Elliot was born in 1998. But Elliot's autism diagnosis soon tested the family's resilience. De Niro devoted himself to therapy sessions and advocacy, but strain grew. By 1999, divorce papers were filed. In 2004, they renewed vows. In 2011, daughter Helen Grace was born via surrogacy. Yet by 2018, mistrust and financial battles shattered the marriage. Courtrooms echoed with figures like $215,000 in monthly credit cards and $160,000 in cash. The divorce dragged until 2021, leaving De Niro at 78 with 3 fractured families, but still unshakable love for his children. After 2021, many assumed solitude would close his story. Instead, he found calm with Tiffany Chen, a martial arts instructor. In 2023, at 79, their daughter Gia Virginia was born. The sight of De Niro, nearly 80, rocking a newborn, stunned even old friends. It never gets easier, but it never stops being worth it, he said. When Tiffany developed Bell's palsy after childbirth, De Niro stayed at her side through recovery. Midnight feedings, therapy sessions. This wasn't red carpet glamour, but the raw, real labor of love, his devotion to art, left permanent marks. Gaining 60 LOB for Raging Bull wrecked his joints and heart. Driving cabs for Taxi Driver left him sleepless. Filing teeth for Cape Fear scarred his smile. In 2003, at 60, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Surgery followed. When you go through something like that, you don't take things for granted anymore, he later admitted. In 2021, at 77, filming Killers of the Flower Moon, he tore a tendon in his leg. Crutches replaced his stride. Whispers rose that time had finally conquered him. He answered not with speeches, but with work. De Niro is not only an actor, but a builder. His fortune, still around $500 million, stretches from Nobu Hospitality, co-founded with Nobu Matsuhisa and Mayor Tepper, now with over 50 hotels and eateries, to Tribeca Enterprises, which revived Lower Manhattan after 9/11 with the Tribeca Film Festival. He co-owns the Greenwich Hotel, Locanda Verde, and resorts in the Caribbean. Yet storms came here too. In 2023, Canal Productions, his company, was ordered to pay over $1.2 million in a lawsuit with a former assistant. Public humiliation cut deep. At home, He balances two worlds, his 78-acre Hudson Valley farm, barns, orchards, and a stone library, and a $20.9 million apartment on Central Park West. Rebuilt after a 2012 fire, fame shields no one from heartbreak. Elliot's autism has been a lifelong journey of love and struggle. But the heaviest blow came with his grandson. Leandro, born 2004 to Drina, showed promise, appearing in A Star is Born. De Niro told friends the boy reminded him of himself. But in July 2023, at just 19, Leandro died from a counterfeit pill laced with fentanyl. De Niro's statement was brief. "I am deeply distressed by the passing of my beloved grandson Leo. We are grateful for the outpouring of condolences and ask for privacy to grieve." In private, the man known for composure broke down. In 2025, another chapter, his child Aaron, born 1995, came out publicly as transgender. De Niro's response was simple, profound. "I loved and supported Aaron as my son, and now I love and support Aaron as my daughter." For a man of few words, that embrace echoed louder than awards. At 82, De Niro still works. Honors line the shelf: 2 Oscars, 4 Golden Globes, the Cecil B. DeMille Award, 2011, Kennedy Center Honors, 2009, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, 2016, and the SAG Life Achievement Award, 2020. But his greatest wealth isn't trophies, it's endurance. Choosing work after cancer, refusing to be defined by lawsuits, embracing a daughter's truth without hesitation, loving through storms and rising each morning to face them again.